Hello, I'm Alexander Hill. I'm a senior at the University of Utah studying writing and rhetoric, minoring in economics, and I'm very privileged to be a undergraduate researcher this semester. I'm happy to share about my project, Humans of Herriman, a model for youth-driven community storytelling. Kind of an interdisciplinary project, bringing in history, bringing in a study of rhetoric, as well as political science and community engagement. So I'm from Herriman City, Utah, which is about 40 minutes south of the University of Utah. And in the year 2000, there were just over 1,000 residents in Herriman. And then now, 25 years later, we've got over 62,000. And so, with this massive growth, there's kind of been a loss of community identity and a loss of people's sense of place and attachment to the community. And some more recent problems. Just in February of this year, we had a big protest at our city hall, a bunch of white supremacists fighting the fact that over 10,000 immigrants, mostly from Venezuela, have moved into Herriman in the last 7 years. So there's been a lot of tension there of immigrants from all over the world coming into Herriman, disrupting in some people's mind the way of life of Herriman. And that's been frustrating for me to see and to see that go through my city. And so I wanted to create a project that uh, helped other people remove the other to really help people understand who their neighbors are while involving our youth. And so the idea came about to create a community storytelling project, but having it all led by youth, engaging people from various high schools within within Herriman to train them as oral historians, and then to send them out into the community to collect as many interviews as possible. This is not only to increase their own civic engagement, but also help them and their families and the people they interact to feel this greater connection to their community. And the goal is to obviously capture as many diverse voices as possible, not just immigrants, not just the old timers, get as many people from a broad range. And then the kind of products of this project are a community magazine, which is forthcoming, and it will contain excerpts from each interview that these high schoolers collected. And then we'll also have an entire archive, both on the city, a community nonprofit will host these archives, and then they'll also be in the Utah Historical Society archive. And then also a qualitative analysis to kind of understand the data behind this project and make it so other cities, other states can replicate this project if it serves their needs as they continue to grow as well. So this kickoff happened back in September. I worked with some of the high schoolers and the business students and the Latinos in Action clubs to create this kickoff event with a oral history expert from the Utah Historical Society. She came in and trained over 25 of our students to help them understand how to receive proper permissions, how to make a comfortable interview experience, what questions to ask. And then we also had our Mayor Palmer spoke at the event and talked about his vision for the city and the necessity of this project to kind of bridge the gaps that he was seeing as a community leader. And then we tried to recruit as many people as possible to be interviewees. We used Facebook, we used the community newspaper featured here. We used teachers and students and all the networks we had to try to get as many people involved in this project as possible and get really a wide breadth of people involved. So in total, we had 61 interviews, and that created 312 pages of transcripts. Really rich stuff that I'm excited about. And then the majority of them were people from Utah or Idaho kind of moving into Herriman, but we had a lot of immigrants as well, 9 countries representative, some from the continent of Africa and Latin America, some from Europe. It's exciting to see. And in total, we involved 12 student researchers. We designated them as our community historians or community history interns. Um, while we had more people attend the kickoff and express interest, there kind of was, I guess, a bit of apprehension, and not everybody went through with the project. So that was kind of frustrating. I would have loved to see more students involved. And then again, the Utah Historical Society offered to take all these archives and include it in their collection, which we're really excited about. So I'd love to dig into the themes that we gathered of what the community was concerned about, kind of getting a pulse on the community. So the first was these rural roots. Herriman was founded in 1851, but didn't become a city until the year 2000, and became a city because of the efforts of James Lynn Crane, and who passed away. But his son James Crane was interviewed and talked about this, I guess, future event when he and his dad will have to give an accounting for what they did to their city and how they preserved it. And so there was a big drive for incorporation, was to not lose Herriman and its rich pioneer roots. Another really common theme was this immigrant experience. I love these two quotes. They're very different. We have Isabella said, "We had to move to a safer place. My family was almost murdered, so that is not a good idea to go back." And then Clarissa from the Ivory Coast said, "The first thing I had to adjust to was the snow. I asked my husband if we were dead, if we were somewhere else in heaven." And so both of these, obviously a very different experience, but it brought them both to Herriman. And they are getting different things out of Herriman, but in total, they're here and they're living this experience that's very different from the rest of the residents. And then kind of along those lines, not only with the immigrants, but other people experiencing this cultural adaptation. We know Utah's got a peculiar culture. Herriman does as well. It's a lot more country. And so we had Clarissa talking about individualism, Alban talk about how people communicate in a different way. Juan Carlos talk about the pace of life, how we're very busy, we're very action-oriented, don't take much time to rest and enjoy, smell the roses here in Herriman. Another theme was the Herriman feel. If you ever want to win an election in Herriman, you just have to say the Herriman feel. It's this kind of unarticulated feeling of community and of rural identity mixed with the modern sprawling suburb that we are. And so the Herriman feel is communities and people rallying around each other. So this was an example from Stacey Case, talked about when she brought home her daughter after adopting her and being welcomed. And that's what the Herriman feel is that feeling of bringing people for a greater good. And then a huge theme was the challenges of growth, especially from kind of the older residents, talking about the lack of connection, how it became this big sprawling mess instead of just this tight-knit community on a couple of roads. Housing density is always a hot topic. And then infrastructure. This is from City Councilor Sherry Orn was talking about what a struggle this has been, how many of her constituents have been talking to her about that. And the last thing I wanted to highlight was youth and education. So with this huge influx of people into Herriman, we've rapidly expanded. We have 2 public high schools as well as 2 charter schools, just growing. And with this influx of immigrants has also changed the demographics and the dynamics of these high schools. They've had to implement a lot more classes for English as a second language. And kind of on the front lines of that was Mrs. Gubler from Mountain Ridge High School. She talked about how they've been creating this community for themselves. They've been creating Latinos in Action and uniting in a way that seemed impossible just 5 years ago. And then we also got a student who's 18, so we were able to interview him. And one of his peers interviewed him, and he talked about his message to the communities is to be kind, which I love the idea of someone from all sorts of backgrounds in Herriman being able to read a student's perspective and understand what the youth are thinking and desiring for their community. And then we asked 10 questions before and 10 questions after the interview collection process with our students that were involved to understand how it changed them, how they felt, and on every metric, they responded very positively to this project, feeling more connected to the community, more comfortable developing these hard skills, these social skills, and a deeper appreciation for history. One of the fun things is one of the questions was, can you name a public official in Herriman? And just about nobody could. But then after they got exposed to different city councilors and the mayor and got to be involved in the community, and they could all name somebody that's involved with Herriman and has a direct connection to its governance. So like I said, I really would love this to expand to be a model for other cities. I've been talking with the Utah League of City and Towns on how I could present this to their team, to spread that with other historical societies and other youth councils. But really the big takeaway is that oral history is this civic action, that when we are taking the time to interview, we're connecting in a very real, tangible ways. Things we noticed among the students is there was greater confidence to talk with people that are older than them, that maybe seem in a totally different lifestyle than them. And then this not only affected students, but also the community members that were interviewed, just a greater ownership of place, the sense of purpose, the sense of being in Herriman, what the Herriman feel is. And then empathy, in all of them was developed by hearing these stories. We had some immigrants, some high schoolers that had immigrated here from different countries, and they were able to interview old timers. And then we had some of the families that had been here forever, and those children were able to interview some of the immigrants. And so it created this chance for people to walk in each other's shoes to create this empathy. So my kind of mission statement going into this project was that Humans of Herriman is a call to preserve identity through inclusion, to build bridges between generations and cultures, and to ensure that Herriman becomes not just a place people live, but a place they belong. It's been demonstrated through the both qualitative and quantitative research that truly this project has helped create more connection. Our mayor has been super impressed with this project, and he was grateful to kind of understand, get a pulse on the city, where we're at, where we're failing, and where our culture needs to go. And it gives me a lot of hope for the future of the community as we seek to understand each other's stories. I just wanted to acknowledge so many people made this project possible, not only all the high schoolers, but also Dr. John Stone, who was my faculty mentor. He teaches in the university's Department of Writing and Rhetoric Studies. He helped me kind of refine my idea and put it into battle, send it into action. Monica Davila, she was the one who gave the oral history training to our high schoolers and connected us to the resources at the Utah Historical Society. Mayor Lauren Palmer connected us to different people, connected us to different organizations, and has been a huge advocate for this project since day one. Danelle Black from Mountain Ridge High School. She's the business advisor. She was my business teacher 5 years ago, so it's great to connect again with her and see what her students are up with and help them engage in this project. Chris Berbert from the newly founded nonprofit in Herriman, the Friends of Herriman. Friends of Herriman will become the repository for the online archive, as well as for the magazine. So it'll be sold through them, given away through them, and they'll be able to keep that perpetually going. And then got a generous grant from Utah Humanities. They gave us $2,200 to print these magazines, as well as to print posters. First week of January, these posters that contain excerpts from different interviews will be sent to community centers like the library, like the high schools, and will kind of create a tangible link in the public eye, so people can connect with this project and hear some other stories. And then huge thanks to the Office of Undergraduate Research for funding my stipend, for making this possible. And it's been such a delightful journey to apply what I'm learning about rhetorics, about writing, about community, and really putting it into action, understanding how this research can be used to reduce racism, reduce hate, and increase unity, increase the sense of identity within a community. Thank you so much. It's been great. And would love if you have any questions, you want to know more about the project, please reach out to me on my email. Thank you.